And we are live. I'm assuming we're live. Yeah, we must be live. Pinch yourself, Danna. We're live.
Ah.
Hello to Danna Trachtenberg Zeiger. Another wonderful author with a middle name. And I'm intensely jealous. I'm also intensely jealous of your writing. Wonderful, lyrical writing. And you have a brand new nonfiction STEM book out just last week.
Yes. Can't even believe it.
Yay. With Millbrook, which is in the imprint of Learner. And that's
right.
Wonderful, gorgeous book. Now I've thrown the tennis ball up in the air. You have to wave your book around and brag about it.
Woo.
Yay!
This is my new book. This is beautiful, stunning artwork by, I'm going to butcher it because I never took French, José Bizeyon. I'm so sorry if you're watching, I butchered it. Please feel free to correct me. But seriously, like, she captured my former mentor and friend, Kathleen Friel, Dr. Kathleen Friel, just perfectly. And, you know, she really, like, looked at these neuron trees, like, how perfect could this possibly be? It's beyond my wildest imagination.
Okay, so I'm so excited to have you on the program.
Thank
I should
you.
also mention that we've actually met in Tel Aviv,
Yes.
which is such
Yes.
a great privilege for me to meet authors like you. And we have so much in common. You're a PhD, a scientist, a biologist. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. I forgot to introduce myself. I don't have a middle name, but I'm in such jealousy of people like you who do. I asked AI to give me a middle name, and my middle name now is Edge. So hi everybody, I'm Mel Edge. Maybe I should be Mel the Edge. Mel the Edge Rosenberg, host of the Children's Literature Channel of the New Books Network. And I'm here with the wonderful Danna Trachtenberg Zeiger. So we're going to call you Dr. Zeiger now, because how many of my interviewees, including people who write about science, are actually scientists. And not only are you a scientist, but you have published scientific articles we talk about the top 5 in publishing children's books. You published in the top 5 of science, something I aspired to but never succeeded. You tell the audience what science, nature, PNAS. Come on, go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, I mean, you know, unless you're in the field, I feel like, you know, these, like, it's similar to publishing. It's like, you know, it's so wonderful, it's so amazing, and everybody's so rallying and support. But, you know, unless you've gone through the process, you don't really know what it takes to publish a children's book. And honestly, also what it takes to publish one of these papers. I'm very fortunate and grateful to, you know, my former advisors and everybody in the lab. It was great research that I'm very proud of. Yeah, science, PNAS, Neuron, blah, blah, blah. Really great, wonderful, amazing journals.
These are the Bibles of science, folks. Think top 5 publishers and then multiply this several times.
Thank you.
Yes, and you've kind of abandoned this wonderful scientific career for something as mundane as writing children's books. Let's start by talking about this wonderful book and also quoting from it because it's so lyrically written and showing some of the gorgeous artwork.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I mean, this book, you know, it's very tied to my science career. When I was an undergraduate, I worked in Dr. Jack Martin's lab, who, you know, I was this like little undergrad. I'd worked at Merck. I'd had some lab experiences, but this was like, you know, I walked into like Columbia's med school. I interviewed like a whole bunch of labs. It was so fascinating, and there's so many cool opportunities, but Dr. Martin's lab, he tells me now to call him Jack. It will never happen. I'm so sorry. He's forever Dr. Martin to me. He did this really amazing research on, corticospinal development. He had a lot of funding from Christopher Reeves Foundation, for example, like really amazing stuff. And he is like the nicest person. He is so kind and sweet, which is not so common in science, let's be honest. And
Present company excluded, of course.
absolutely, you are the warmest and fuzziest person ever.
I was talking about you, and we're not going to talk about body hair today, Dan.
But you're a warm teddy bear. It's so fun.
Oh,
It's so fun.
that kind of fuzzy. Okay.
Yes, cuddle,
Yeah.
cuddle, nice hug. Yeah, but yes, similar to him actually, he also, smiles brightly just like you. And he was wonderful. But it was a very intimidating experience. And walking into the lab, he paired me with Kathleen. She was a postdoc in the lab, Dr. Friel. And she was just she's funny, she's hilarious, she's so witty. And she's so patient. I asked, my little undergrad self like 5 million questions, and she just patiently walked me through everything, papers and, the animal research and how to do various things. She was also the first scientist I'd ever met with cerebral palsy. I actually grew up with somebody in our close family friends who the daughter was my age, almost exactly, and she has CP, but her cognitive function was is impaired. And so it was a very different experience. So this was the first time in academia, really, that I encountered somebody like Kathleen. And through the years, we kept in touch, and just like watching what she has gone through is unreal. Like, she is brilliant. She has her own lab funding. You know how hard that is. She's won amazing awards and grants, and people treat her terribly, honestly, terribly. And so, this is really from the start of my science career. And when I started writing children's books, I thought to myself, what am I not seeing? What's kind of missing? And I was like, this story, right? I don't see many main characters with disability at all, let alone any. I really couldn't find cerebral palsy. And I think that her story is so important for so many reasons, in addition to representation, also because, she works harder than all of us to do, to talk, to walk. And she does amazing things. And, kids in this day and age of, instant gratification, kids need to know that it takes hard work. All of us. This is not, not a quick, easy jump. So I'm very excited to share her story. I'm very honored that she trusted me. And like I tell her, like, if anybody walks away from the book not being awed, it's purely my fault, because she and her story are amazing. And I'm just the vessel. And I'm grateful.
It's you are there's no word awing, but I am awed by you.
Oh,
Open the book, read us a little bit.
sure.
Show us a few pictures.
Sure. Rewriting the Rules: How Dr. Kathleen Friel Created New Possibilities for Brain Research and Disability. This is the stunning end pages, and I like to read to kids, and I like to tell them to be on the hunt for dandelions. Dandelions are a symbol for cerebral palsy because of their perseverance and growth in hard conditions. Dandelion wisps dared Kathleen to make wishes. Kathleen blew, or at least she tried. Kathleen's eyes blinked. Her head shook. Her arm trembled. The fluffy seeds stayed stuck. Kathleen was born with cerebral palsy, and her muscles didn't always listen. Instead of blowing, she fiercely flapped the flower. At last, seeds sailed and laughter soared toward the sky.
Gorgeous.
Thank you.
When did this change in your life occur?
Yeah.
From science writing, which you don't have alliteration and you don't have this the experiment was conducted under ambient temperature.
Yes, very different.
Always in the passive. which
Mhm.
we teach our children's writers not to do.
I know it's like opposite. So I will
So,
say that I've
so Dana,
always,
so what happened to you, dear?
well, I've always been a writer. I will say that. I've always been a bookworm and I've always been a writer. I wrote poems as a young child. I'm trilingual. And I wrote poems in multiple languages. I think kind of to the astonishment of my parents, are kind of like, what is happening here? I have this tin shaped like a carousel, and I would write my poems and I would put them in there. So at this point, like if you open it, it explodes out like confetti. It's like there's so much jam packed in there throughout my life. And I always loved writing, but my family, is Russian Jewish. And in the former Soviet Union, like only STEM. That was kind of the thing. And my dad had this policy where like they didn't support, like us studying anything in college unless it was STEM related. So I was always a creative writer. I always loved creative writing. I was like a poetry editor in high school. Like I always gravitated towards it. But it's not that like I don't feel like I don't feel like I was uncomfortable. Like I found my niche in science. I was really excited about neuroscience as an undergrad and about, molecular biology as a, grad student. And I really found what was exciting to me, what was passionate to me, all the questions that I studied. Um, but I kept writing throughout. I tried to find creative outlets throughout. I published a few, like blogs and whatever's. The real transformation happened though. I was a professor at that point for 7 years. Things were going really well. I was, I ran my biology department. And I loved my job. Honestly, I felt really fulfilled by it. I love my students. Like I still keep in touch with some of my students and I love them.
What
Um,
what what were you teaching?
I was teaching all sorts of biology courses across the, 4-year program, from like introduction to biology to, senior seminar, where the kids would, write their thesis for the year.
But
So
no, but no poetry of biology.
definitely not. Definitely not. No, that was like my spare time. And what happened, and I was, this was like I was like up for promotion the next year. It was like and what happened was COVID hit and I had a newborn baby. My husband had had major surgery right before, and my oldest child was in 3rd grade and sobbing every day. To be honest, like teachers were in a very tough spot, but like my university students would have rebelled if they had to do what he had to do as a 3rd grader, like 2-page list of like, now do this, now do that. Oh, learn fractions from YouTube. It was terrible. I think he like, it was tough. He was sobbing every day, and I was like, this cannot continue. We can't do this. And we had several immunocompromised people in our family. So, I had to jump through the HR hoops, and they gave me fall semester. They finally relented after a lot of hoops, fall semester remote, but they couldn't guarantee spring. This was long before there was any hope of a vaccine or anything. And I said, how am I, what do you mean not guaranteed? Like, what, like, good luck finding a nanny. If you found a nanny, you could, it cost your whole house. Like, it was super expensive. I had a newborn, I had a preschooler, like Zoom was not an option. There's no Zoom diaper changes. So I kind of looked at my husband and I was like, I think I need to like resign and homeschool the kids. And he was like, what? Are you feeling okay? Like, what's going on with you? Like, do we need to take you to the doctor? And, we talked a lot about it. He's a wonderful partner. And he was like, look, let's think about, can we both go part-time? Can we try some other way, something? But that wasn't financially feasible. And so, I made the difficult decision, and it was very shocking. And I started homeschooling the kids. And in homeschooling the kids, I started reading tons and tons of books, like literally hundreds of books. And one day I had an idea, and I should say, when I was a child, I was a bookworm. I read one of my favorites. You might know Enid Blyton. She's British. So a lot of people in America like have never heard of her, but she's my favorite author. And I kind of, when I was a kid, I kind of had this dream, like, oh, I want to be Enid Blyton one day, just a prolific children's author. She really influenced my life, as well as many other authors. And so as I was reading the kids, the books, I had this idea, and my husband was like, that's a great idea for a book, and you should write it. I was like, what are you talking about? I should write it. I'm starting homeschooling, and what do I like? I don't, He's like, no. And I thought about it, I was like, well, this is something I've always wanted to do. I always wanted to write books. I had, several ideas. I didn't have time. And I was like, you know what? I need a little time for me. I need something for myself and my soul. So I started taking a ton of classes and reading books and that's, that's where it started.
Danna, how did you know that you needed to study? We've talked about this. Our careers have been very parallel, but it took me about 40 years to realize that I really didn't know how to write a good children's story. And you knew very, very quickly. How did you know that you had to take courses? You had to improve. I mean, you were a writer.
Well, what I will say is I reached out to my network, and somebody knew Hannah Stiefel, who is like legend. Okay. Like, it's like, oh yeah, I just know LeBron, like, yeah, okay. I like somebody knew Hannah Stiefel, and they like my friend, my dear friend, who has been such a support this whole time. And she was like, hey, I'll connect you, because why not? And Hannah, being like the wonderful, gracious, giving soul that she is, read my manuscript, gave me like a really thoughtful critique, and was like, hey, and like, here are organizations you can join, and you might want to think about critique groups, and and at first I was like, whoa. And my friend was like, oh my God, you have to do all that. Yeah. And I was like, well, that sounds really fun. And whereas my friend was like, okay, if I ever thought about that, no, thank you. And I was like, woo, this sounds cool. um, and I would be forever grateful to Hannah. And I started, so I think also like, I've always felt like a writer, but I'm not sure, like I felt like I knew what I was doing. And when she wrote me that, I was like, okay, there's a lot more here. I guess that's it. But definitely thank you to Hannah forever. And I try to pay it forward. And yeah, I just started getting into SCBWI, and it was hard. It was hard to like find critique groups. And it was all over Zoom. So thanks to Zoom and thanks to COVID, like people in Massachusetts but far away were like, yeah, you can join our critique group. We're on Zoom anyway, whatever. And they're very like kind and welcoming. And yeah, I think I just kind of I probably tend to be a little bit more on the self-deprecating side to begin with. So I probably like come with the assumption that like, it's a good Soviet parent training, like I know nothing, you know nothing, I think that probably
Ничего ты знаешь. Ничего.
exactly. Ничего.
Ничего. Ничего никогда. Yeah. Go ahead.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I think that was kind of I think that was kind of it. And I think in general, I mean, we're both lifelong learners, right? We love to learn. And I love to, I for me, it's been like really fun, very different part of my brain, very different field. But it's been, I think that what I learned a lot from my PhD that is transferable to all of life is how to learn, like, okay, dive into this and read the books and, and study like mini MFA.
And so you studied and you joined critique groups. And Hannah, hi Hannah,
Hi, Donna. Thank you.
she is wonderful.
Yeah.
And how did you break in? How did you find Gaby? Gaby's been on the show. She's wonderful. You connected us.
Yeah.
She's what a true spirit of an agent.
Yeah.
How did you and Gaby connect?
I know Gaby is wonderful. Every time I come off a call with Gaby, my husband is like, I love Gaby. I love her. Like, because I just come off like, like she just makes me feel so supported, and she's such a cheerleader, and that's what you really want. How did I connect with Gaby was, so I had a first agent, and that was short-lived. She has wonderful deals, and she has like a great reputation, but I quickly learned about myself that like I need more communication. That's just me.
One second, damn it. To find an agent,
Yes.
scientists don't have to find agents. Thank God for that. You know, you submit
Thank God.
right, but the authors in the States generally do. And
Mhm.
finding an agent is finding a needle in 100 haystacks.
Yes.
So and you have had two agents. So run us through that
Three.
briefly. Oy
Yes.
vey.
Three. Well, no, the second one just he left on his own accord. Jonathan Rosen, also wonderful. He
Uh,
left agenting.
he's
Hard
also
part.
been on the show. I
Ye-
know.
Yes, yes,
So
yes. I love it.
you're trilingual and tri-agent.
That's right. That's right.
How did you find your first anonymous agent?
So, I will say that I think a thread through my life is doing the unconventional thing, the unorthodox thing. The way that I got to my professorship was a little bit also less traditional, and all of this is less traditional. I did what you weren't supposed to do. First of all, I did query with my first manuscript. I did get actually agent bites, and I got my agent. It's interesting. I had an offer from another agent, and then I did the thing where you nudge all the other agents, and so the one that I ended up accepting was like, yes, I'd like to have a call. But I did the thing, like I queried with my first manuscript. I don't agree with the like, query a few agents at a time, slow dribble. I am like shotgun, boom, go all at once, like go. Thoughtfully.
Oh, hold on, dear. Hold on. Uh, your first manuscript, which was about,
Paper clips.
I know that one. I know that
You know
one.
that one. You've seen it. Not my
And
strongest, honestly, now.
it has lots of potential. I think it has lots of potential. Paper clips. It's also, it's a little bit science, a little bit nonfiction, a little bit fiction.
Yeah.
And your first manuscript, and some agents nibbled on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Surprisingly. But the thing is that like I
I'm
did.
not surprised.
Thank you.
I would nibble, children's book on paper clips. It's one of my favorite subjects. When I teach innovation and creativity, I mean,
Exactly. It's a great exercise. Exactly. It's great with like every age. Yeah. Um, yeah, but the thing is that I was definitely not prepared. Like my other manuscripts were not up to snuff. I had other manuscripts. I thought maybe they were up to snuff. They were definitely not up to snuff. But I was lucky and grateful, and so that was the first agent, and I quickly realized that just like I learned about myself that as a budding author and writer, I needed communication that was different. And so I elected to part ways. I actually had the manuscript for this book written, and I was like, I would like a different process. And so I willingly went back into the trenches. That was in May, and I had, you have a 30-day period of time where you're not allowed to submit any other agents. So in that 30-day period, I worked with all my manuscripts. I tried to polish. I had written new stuff in the time when I was agented, and I selected my like top four. I wrote queries for them, and then I started writing drafts for agents that I was going to query. And on day 31, I was like, boom. I submitted a ton because I was like, here's the thing, right? I
you're you're
have
you're you're the dandelion lady. Dana
yeah.
dispersed to the world.
Well, I think
I'm laughing because I was much the same.
right. This is the thing, like coming from science and changing so drastically, not necessarily that I won't ever go back, but I'll always be writing now. Like this is something that I want for myself. And so I really needed this to take off. I really, really needed it. And so, I was ready, and and my kids, like I homeschool my kids. I had a, special program that the kids were busy for several hours of the day. I sat with my laptop till my feet grew numb. I was like sending the queries out like crazy, and I needed something to take off. And Jonathan Rosen, God bless him, I will always love him. He responded and he was like, yeah, let's do
What's
it.
not to love? Nothing
That's
not
not
to love.
exactly. And he was agent number 2, but like my first real agent, I think. In that he really got me. He really represent, like, and it was like not short-lived.
So agent number 1 tried to sell the paperclip story.
Yes.
Jonathan tried to sell which story?
So we started with another story. I don't think you've seen it, but it didn't sell. But then this was manuscript number 2. So this went out. So I signed with Jonathan in August. We went out with one manuscript that fall. And like just to a very small number of editors. And it was like, like positive feedback, but maybe not so saleable. And so in, I think, January, we went out with this manuscript. And so interestingly, like right away, my editor wrote back with 3 questions. She wanted to know if I was amenable to changing the title. Yes. And she was 100% right.
Was that the editor at Millbrook?
Yes, Carol.
Who's
Dear Carol.
who hadn't taken the manuscript yet,
No.
but she wanted some changes, which happens, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Lots of changes. And she also asked if I had had a sensitivity reader read it, and the answer was yes. And if I was open to more sensitivity readers, and the answer was definitely yes. And she was like, great, I'll get back to you. And didn't hear from her for a while, because publishing. But that was, I think, January, maybe February, early February. And then in May, we suddenly heard from Carol that she was taking it to acquisitions. And we're like, okay, let's do it. And and that was the timeline there. And that was Jonathan. And then Jonathan left, to answer your original question, Jonathan left agenting 2023 in fall, winter, like early winter. But he had his own things, but he was so kind. And so, he really wanted to find a home for every one of his clients. And so Gaby was this new agent coming in to Seymour Agency, which has been a really solid agency. And she looked at some of his clients, and I was just very, very lucky that she, my work resonated with her. And we met, and like the rest is history. Like we met, and I was like, okay, yes, she's so warm and bubbly and, supportive. And, we've been learning together, and she's awesome. She knows her stuff. She's done a phenomenal job. And, so like, I feel like, Jonathan, like I'll always miss him. And also he like held my hand into the next, like next chapter.
That's wonderful. So
Yeah.
so now the book is out 9 days. How does it feel? It's your debut picture book. How does it compare to your paper in PNAS or science or what have you? Or what's the feeling?
Such an interesting comparison. I don't think anybody's ever asked me that, and I don't think I've ever thought about that. I think for me, the experience of this book has been the people with me. It's, science can be solitary. It's not really solitary, because you really do work in a team, you work together, but it's a kind of small team. And even when even if the lab is excited for you, even if the field, like, ooh, all my fellow C. elegans researchers and pheromone sensation, it's so awesome, and they're so supportive, but it's pretty small. And it's also not personal. It's not personal. This, like, it's funny because at the book launch, I was really so nervous, and I was like, "What is happening?" Like, I'm not nervous before I give a lecture anymore. And I met with some kids, and I wasn't nervous about that either, but I was nervous because this is like really like a part of my soul, and that it feels much more vulnerable to share, and sharing it with Kathleen and her family is just beyond words. And
Donna, you're such a beautiful person. I've met you. You make me want to cry.
oh, thank you.
This is the difference. I feel this also. Finally, after so many years, I'm writing from my kishkas. You say you're writing from your soul. I call it my kishkas. And when your kishkas, which means your entrails or whatever the word is in English, are on the table, you you are very sensitive
Yeah.
about what people have to say about them.
Yes, yes, exactly, exactly. It's scary. It was, scary. It's scary. It's risky. Seeing first
What
Kathleen. Yeah.
sorry,
Yeah.
what buoyed you through all of the rejections and the almosts along the way when you had this stellar and really I mean stellar um, scientific career that you had put on hold. And when we put scientific careers on hold, they're much more difficult to come back to, because those C. elegans have their way of worming away from us. Um, they're not so elegant. And sorry, wait. Um,
I love it. I love it.
and but you should. I mean, like I never studied worms. You studied worms.
Hmm?
Worms are amazing. And you study them. At the end of the day, you sacrifice them. We call them, because science is a little bit of a religion, in my opinion. So the animals are sacrificed, and then, but you should write a children's book, which is STEM and not STEM,
Hmm.
about the worm that got away.
That lived, the worm that lived.
No, yeah, no, we are in a sense the worms that got away. We escaped the lab, right?
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
and I,
yeah.
we should make a little like a little rat pack of scientists who found a better world writing for children.
It's a
Um,
secret. Don't tell the others.
but so here's my question.
Yeah.
Here's the question. Finally, I remember the question. Okay, the question was, what did you do in those dark nights of rejection? These oy vey when you said, "Oh, I was a well-known and very, very established and revered scientist, and now I'm nothing. I'm nichevo. I'm bobkas." What
Nothing.
boy
Zero. Yeah.
what buoyed you through?
Well, in graduate school, so I did pheromone sensation, but I moved to a lab in bacteria on DNA repair, and that was a hard transition. That was when I was pregnant with my first, and there have been a lot of these moments. Like when I think about the metaphor for graduate school and science, this is going to be pretty. I think of a really thick, gnarly rope and like blistery, bloody hands and holding on to that rope. And I think it was that same kind of perseverance. Grad school wasn't easy. I defended on the day when my oldest turned 2. And it was really hard. And my husband was in grad school, so we both had no money and we're trying to establish ourselves. And, that perseverance of like, just stick it through, just keep going, keep going, keep going. And I think also, some of that former Soviet, Jewish mentality. I've watched my parents struggle. I've watched,
But
immi-
did you feel from the family that they came around to this new career, which wasn't science?
I did not tell my parents for a long time, actually. I didn't.
Wow.
Yeah, I did it
Wow.
because it was hard to predict how they might react, and I really loved it, and I didn't want to kind of penetrate that. I wanted to keep it. So I didn't share for a while.
You didn't come out of the lab.
I didn't I was closeted in the lab. I was labbed. And surprisingly, actually, it's funny because so my late father, may his memory be, a blessing. He was like the biggest, STEM, science, math, like I had, the old crotchety Russian man teaching me, math when I was a kid. Um, he kind of reacted very surprisingly. He was like, wow, show me what you're writing. And he read it, and he was a very busy guy, and he read it. He gave me feedback. He was very supportive. Shockingly, he was like, wow, this is beautiful. You're so talented. And he said to me that he was sorry that he hadn't supported this earlier in my life, and that he understood that like, yes, STEM was good, and like I don't have regrets. I loved what I did.
That was so wonderful of him to apologize.
Yeah, 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 he was in the end very supportive.
And I'm going to say it's unbelievable that we're coming soon to the end of our
Wow.
interview, and it's passed like this, and I have lots of things to ask you. But the good news is that somebody has told me, some kind worm, that you have another book coming out, which we can't talk about unless you want to share something about it. It's another STEM book.
It's another STEM nonfiction, and something vague about, something vague is happening with one of my manuscripts that is STEM nonfiction and lyrical. And I'm very excited about it.
Okay, and so this leads me to one of the last things, and I don't know if we ever discussed this, but we have to discuss this at some point.
Yeah.
We people talk about. I'm going to go out on a limb now, Donna. So you
Okay.
don't have to. You don't have to be out there with me. You can let me dangle as you like.
Okay.
We talk a lot about own voices. That
Mhm.
Jewish people should write about Hanukkah, and um, but you know, uh, most of the STEM books for the picture book level are written by people who, between you and me, are not really scientists.
Mhm. Mhm.
They have degrees in other things. Um, and like you said, I feel that somebody who has a PhD, and maybe it's PhD and it's not science, having to do this 3, 4, 5, 6 year journey, where you learn to learn. Uh, I think it is invaluable, as you say.
Mhm.
Um, and I get to interview people like you who I have so much appreciation for, because you are really own voices. You are a scientist. You are a PhD. You've done it at the highest level. And anything you want to write about science, I'm going to be there for you.
And
Do you ever
likewise.
do you ever feel this way where you're reading nonfiction, whatever that is, and you're reading STEM, um, and you say, hmm, does that happen to
Yes.
you
Yes.
also?
Yes. Yes. I read to my kids, and I will like, if there's something that's, problematic, I will pause, put the book down, and be like, guys, we got to talk about this. Like, I have seen quite a few things that are not accurate, just simply not accurate. And I think it's possible. Like, I've seen talented people who are not scientists, write science. Or my editor, I have to say, she didn't major in science, but her parents were scientists. She has an appreciation, and the thing is that she does the work. I think that if you do the work, that's what it's about. If it's about not having hubris, and I think that's kind of the answer for me. Like, I dove into, I think it's about doing the work. And I think that somebody who really is excited to write about science, it's possible, it can be done, and I've seen it done well. but by people who are not scientists. But it does take work. It's not, I would never just be like, oh, I like history, I can write about history. I'm not a historian. I haven't studied it. I could. That's not a closed door to me, but it takes the work. So yeah, I absolutely have seen. Sometimes maybe, Mel,
Well,
you and I should open up a publishing arm. Let's do it. Science publishing arm.
we'll call it bookworm.
You are on
Uh,
fire today. You are awesome.
no, it's just so much
Fantastic.
fun, seeing you. Oh, wait, so much fun seeing you again. What do people not get about us? What do people not get about scientists?
I mean, I think, to be fair, sometimes our communication is not great. And I think that, I think there, in some ways, we live on different planets. I think that bridge is
Okay,
important.
I'm gonna make it. Okay, what do people not understand? What is the Achilles heel of being a scientist? What is our
Mm.
um, we have virtues. What's the opposite of virtues? Disvirtues. What is this virtue of a scientist?
I think that we get so wrapped up in our world and with our jargon and with our specialties that we forget the bigger picture. We forget to zoom out, why this is important, why people care, and they should care, right? Like, a lot of this is funded by taxes, by them, right? And they're voters, you know, um, and we forget to, like, come out of our bubble. And I think that's also why writing children's books about science is so important to me. I
And so,
want
so difficult. And I'm
so
going to
different.
jump in. I'm going to jump into your bubble. I've met. I don't know, Donna. You're bringing out in me the most. This is. I'm getting into trouble here by the minute. Um, I've met hundreds and thousands of scientists. They suffer from, including me, from various degrees of hubris.
Yes.
And this is what you say, the bubble, right? My bubble is the world. But when you meet famous children's book writers, you don't find this. They don't say, I know the way it is. That's my experience.
So true. So true. 100%.
And then they get us wrong. If somebody interviews me 20 years ago, I'm saying this and this and this and this. A lot of what I said back then was wrong because scientists, they have
Right.
dogmas and they
Right.
get it wrong. And so you can
Right.
write nonfiction, right? Scientific nonfiction, but 20 years later, you're going to have to go back and fix it.
Exactly. Exactly. Because there's a scientific process. We learn new things. I mean, this has been a disaster, recently in history. Like, and we don't communicate, this process and how much we know and how much we don't know, and that's normal. That's part of it.
For me, not knowing is the most important part of being a scientist.
Yes.
And this is what doesn't come across in the children's books when you write STEM nonfiction and you try to get it right. This
Yes.
is, this is for me the oy vey moment. Anyway, um,
Totally agree.
last question. What about fiction?
I love fiction. I read fiction. I write fiction. I have some stuff on sub, and I love to, weave in my science. And I think, like, both fiction and nonfiction.
As you should.
Yeah, yeah, making it a story, and I love it when readers learn without realizing. That's my favorite. That's my goal.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
In summary,
Yes.
would you like to read a few more of your lovely lyrical sentences from your lovely book, which I highly recommend because it works on so many levels. It works on accepting people with different abilities, people who are different, and this incredible metaphor of someone who appears not to be smart, but is probably much smarter than 99.99% of people. And you've managed to trap that so well in your magic blast of a book. So read us a little bit more.
Thank you, with pleasure. All right. When Kathleen was a toddler, her parents wanted to know how to help her learn to walk, to speak, and to do other things for herself. They brought her to a doctor who told them that part of Kathleen's brain that controls her muscles had been injured when she was born. He said, "She will never walk normally. She will never speak clearly. She will never get better. Send Kathleen to live in a place where others can take care of her so you can focus on your younger children." No way. Kathleen and her parents walked out the door, leaving behind that doctor forever. And this is like one of my favorites. I love this doctor. They found a new doctor. He never wore socks, but always wore a smile. He told Kathleen's parents to treat her like any other child. And then this
It's
page
such a,
shows, yeah,
such a lovely, great story, and the illustrations really are wonderful.
stunning, stunning, stunning. Yeah, she hid like all these Easter egg dandelions throughout, and like the way she illustrated neurons, like so creatively, it was beautiful.
Wow. So we're way over time here. I'm just going to say thank you. We're going to throw everybody out and jump back in to have our little private goodbye or hello. And it's been wonderful interviewing you on your brand new, lovely debut picture book, STEM and nonfiction, which works so well on so many levels. Dr. Danna Trachtenberg Zeiger. And the book is called Rewriting the Rules. Came out with Millbrook, a imprint of Learner. Really well done on so many different levels, and I wish it much success. And also to your mentor, who is the subject of this wonderful
Love
book.
you, Kathleen. Thank you, Mel. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for having me here.
Oh, and people, run out and buy this book. You will not regret it for a minute. I will refund your money, but you're gonna love it. And I am Mel the Edge Rosenberg. What am I? I'm the moment that I got this middle name from ChatGPT, I forgot who I am. And maybe that's good because soon AI won't beat me at all to host this program. Maybe that's the idea. They first they give you a middle name, and then they strip you slowly of everything.
They take
But
over.
In the meantime, I'm the host of the Children's Literature Channel of the New Books Network, and I've been here with the incredible Dr. Danna Trachtenberg Zeiger. Bye, everybody else. Go and buy the book, and then we'll come back to the same link and wrap up.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Mel.